Alright, the next area in which I think we can have some improvement is explaining how we're going to get to these ratios. You'll notice that the desire is to improve the ratios of staff to students, staff to teachers, staff to computers. But the reality is there's only two ways to do this. Either we have to decrease the number of students, teachers, and computers we have, or we have to increase our staff. That's really the only two ways that we could do this. Now, the current plan actually does propose some ways to streamline how things are run. For instance, they say to compensate for limited tech support personnel, they want to implement remote administration tools like remote desktop and server managed services. And that is a great idea. It'll do wonders to improve response time and tech support. For instance, the remote desktop, a tech support guy, even in a different building, can help fix a problem on a computer in another building. But while that will improve efficiency of the staff they have, it actually won't change these ratios. So, in essence, the people that they have will be able to do more, but the ratios will not change. So, to change the ratios, they have to have more staff. And the reason why we know the students, teachers, and computers aren't going to decrease, or at least computers, is because it mentions later that the computers will probably increase. It says probably not by much, but it does mention an increase in the number of computers. So that again points to an increase in staff. So that's why I actually did include some in the plan to make improvements in the ratios. We're going to add additional technical support staff. In order to keep costs down, however, one thing I put in the plan is that the current technology repair technician is going to lead an exploration of community support resources, both from businesses and individuals, in the form of volunteer help and hardware donations or discounts. For instance, certain parents or certain businesses might be willing to offer their services in troubleshooting or in repair. Helping to roll out new software or something like that. Or businesses might be willing to donate different hardware. And that will really help to increase community involvement and support as they begin to search for those volunteers and or donations. The next thing actually relates to the budget. The current budget actually is quite large compared to others, and I don't know if that's just because of how they look at their budget, but the numbers are much larger than other districts that I saw. One thing, though, is that they mention wanting their staff to look for outside funding, and they mention the fact that they have taken advantage of some grants, some of those opportunities. But I actually changed the language of the plan here in the budget section to actually require it. I made a statement here. Additionally, the committee will explore outside funding sources, grants, donations, etc., to determine whether particular projects must be included in the general budget or if they can be paid for with those additional funds. If a project is presented by a particular teacher or a group of teachers, they will be required to help in the search. Now, obviously, they're not going to be able to find outside funding for everything. But while this was previously recommended, now we're going to mandate that they at least try to find something. These outside sources are many, but they're often overlooked. So we're going to require an effort to seek out those funds, and that can go a long way in reducing costs to a district. It'll also help extend the grant partnership relationships like they want to. It says previously in this section. It will help them extend that naturally as they explore more opportunities. The final one is actually in relation to security in section 4.5, and it actually has to do with posting the AUP and the lab policies. The plan the current plan does mention having all students sign it and staff sign that they have read it, okay, and they've had them in place for a long time, okay, but and I've seen this in the school I actually teach in. I manage the network, but just in the computer lab, posting the policies. This is a visual reminder, and it also removes the ignorance excuse. Well, I didn't know I wasn't allowed to do that. Well, it's on the wall, so you know. And supposedly you read it and signed that you read it. So, you have some ways to back yourself up in enforcing the AUP and the lab policies. I think that's just a good idea because all of us forget. We all get lots of things at the beginning of the year that we're supposed to read, and how thoroughly we read them varies. But just in addition to this, one of the things that I pointed out when we were doing the section on the AUP was that while it's called an acceptable use policy, it actually was all stated as unacceptable uses. And I actually want to break over to that and take a look at what they currently have. Here is the original, and you'll notice while it's called an AUP, all they do is list unacceptable uses. Users will not, and this is just human nature, but we never want to be told what we're not allowed to do. So I actually went through and rewrote this, and I included the original letters in parentheses here just to show that all of this is covered, but I tried to put it in a little more positive light and actually make it an acceptable use policy. So I put the following uses of the school district system and internet resources or accounts are considered acceptable. Users may use the school district system to do these things as long as it, and then I put some restrictions on it, okay? Again, users will communicate across the school district system appropriately without, okay? So again, we're communicating positively. This is what we want you to do. We want you to communicate, but we want you to do it appropriately. And these are some examples of inappropriate things. You may use it to engage in activities as long as they are not illegal, and so on. Users may use the school district system to gain access only to the information resources they're authorized to use. And then what does that exclude? So, and then the final one, students may make a connection to the internet while on district grounds through infrared or wireless, or cellular broadband cards, or mobile telephones, or other non-wired devices only when given. Okay, so it's saying that they're allowed to do things. It's giving them a great amount of freedom while also setting the parameters for that freedom. So I believe that can help increase the communication and also make this whole acceptable use policy one that is more easily accepted by the readers.